I'm Tashaka Armstrong for Tashaka Explains It All, and this is the Apple Watch Series 6. Hey, if you like this content, any of the other videos you've seen on the channel, please hit that like, that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you'll get a notification when we upload the latest content. So I've had the Apple Watch Series 6 for 24 hours now, and I'm going to give you some early impressions, some first impressions of the device. And of course, that'll be followed up with a full review here on my channel, along with some content that will be going other places. I'll let you know on my Instagram and various other channels where you'll be able to find those reviews or comparisons or roundups that we'll be producing. What I'd really like to do, because all that information about the specs are out there, the different features, I want to give you my first impressions, first 24 hours with the watch, with some of the specs they've talked about and how they've affected my use. So the first one that I noticed, which is pretty relevant given the times we're in with COVID, is the hand washing functionality. It's really cool, and it automatically will recognize when you're washing your hands. I'm still kind of getting used to this function. So last night when I was washing my hands, when I came in the house, it had already recognized it, but the screen did not immediately turn on when it recognized it. What it did do is, as it got closer to the end of the 20-second time period, the display woke up and I got that countdown around maybe 5 seconds is when I noticed it. Now that may have just been me moving my wrist, but that's when I noticed it. About 15 seconds in to the 20-second countdown is when I noticed the watch come alive. And after I finished washing my hands, there was something that did pop up that I thought was really unique, and I actually like it with regards to the hand washing, and that is you can set geolocation reminders for your home address, because it's really important with this COVID pandemic, after you've been out and about and touching various surfaces, that when you come home, you're gonna wanna wash your hands, so you'll get those reminders on your watch. And I think that's actually really smart of them to do given this time. The other thing Apple touted on their event for the Series 6 and the new iPads was the blood or the pulse oximeter, the function that allows you to measure your blood oxygen saturation. And so what I did was I took a pulse oximeter, one that you can get from a pharmacy, and I've been measuring the accuracy of the pulse or blood oximeter of the watch with the accuracy of what is your standard finger tip pulse oximeter, like you'd see in a hospital. Those are usually connected to wires. Now, here's the interesting thing. Because Apple does not have the watch certified as a medical device, an actual medical device, Apple cannot actually give you an accuracy level in terms of how spot on, how accurate this pulse oximeter in this watch is. This device, however, does, and it actually tells you that it is going to be accurate within 1 or 2% of the reading. So if this reads out, or within 1 or 2 points of the reading. And so with this, if it tells you that your blood oxygenation is 95, it will be accurate within 1 or 2 points. So that means your blood oxygen could either be 96, 97 or 94, 93. So given that, when I've measured one against the other, the Apple Watch has always been pretty spot on to this pulse oximeter, this finger pulse oximeter here. And now there were times where it was off by 1 or 2 points, but given the margin of error for the this pulse oximeter here, Apple Watch's readings were well within the margin of error of accuracy for this grade pulse oximeter. So that bodes well for Apple. And also one of the things people don't always consider is that when you have these pulse oximeters like this, which actually shine light through your skin, and that's how they determine the oxygen saturation level, different people with different pigments, that's been an issue in the past with certain products and devices. And Apple has created a device here that looks like, as you can see, I'm not the darkest of the brown skin people, but I do have fairly dark skin, and it does definitely, like I said, look like it is fairly accurate to within 1 or 2 points, even dead on with this pulse oximeter here. So there's that. The next thing I want to talk about in terms of practical wear of these last 24 hours is the solo and the braided loops. So they've given us these new loops which don't have a clasp, and they're pretty cool. Really like them. I've never been a fan of the silicone loops, which you'll see is like the sports band that comes with it, that comes with the Apple Watch in the box. Never been a big fan of the silicone loops. Just they're hot and on me. I like something that breathes, and they don't, obviously. So I've always opted for, and this is the Series 5, for a cloth band. This is a cloth sport loop, Apple's sport loop. So I've always opted for one of these. In this round, they've given us this braided solo loop, and we have the silicone solo loop, which I actually wore to bed last night because this is a size 8. So they have a bunch of different sizes in these solo loops. This is a size 8. Apple actually sent me the size 8 and size 9. The size 8 is still a little big on me. For the braided loop, it falls up and down my arm as I am just going about my day. And what I noticed last night with the silicone solo loop is because it's silicone, it actually has a level of friction that the braided loop does not have. So as I was sleeping, it didn't move around on my arm. Now it can slide down a little bit, but I found that that's me having to actively move it up and down, but passively it doesn't really move a lot. So for me, the size 8 in the silicone loop actually works quite well, as opposed to the size 8 in the braided solo loop, which again for me is loose, and I'd probably for me go down to a size 7 in the braided solo loop. But it is high quality, it feels high quality. It's a really cool loop, really cool idea. Basically a bracelet watch. It expands, you can pull it right on and off. That's how that works. So really cool, like the functionality of that. Really cool new bands for the Series 6. Something that people may not talk about a lot, but is actually quite important, is having this watch when you're at home or you're somewhere where you're connected to Wi-Fi networks that the watch will pick up, is that the previous generations only operated on the 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi band, which is congested in many homes because microwaves, all kinds of other devices, IoT, your Internet of Things devices, many of them operate on the 2.4 gigahertz band. So if you have lighting and other things working on that, you have some congestion there. So the Series 6 actually works on the 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi band. So when you have routers at home that are dual band, or some of the mesh networking that operate on the 5 gigahertz, you now have the ability to have the watch on a faster network than the 2.4, and a network that is theoretically going to be less congested. So that's a great addition to the Series 6 as well. And something that I think is actually really cool is the Apple Family Setup. Apple Family Setup is a new function that essentially allows you to purchase and then set up an Apple Watch for your family member, whether that is a child or an elderly parent, because you have fall detection and some of those other things on the watch, which is great. And so that's really cool to be able to set those watches up for other people, but specifically for children and for, in this COVID era that we're in, for your children who are back at school, having Family Setup now comes with Apple Cash Family, which is a way for you to give your children who are using the watch an allowance and actually give them money directly to the Apple Watch, which is brilliant. Love that. So now when you have a child at school who's wearing the watch, you can now give them money through the watch, and obviously they'd be using the watch with Apple Pay, so you have to have that set up. So if your child is a tween and they're at the mall with some friends and they text you for some cash, you'll be able to drop some cash on the Apple Watch, and they'll then be able to use the Apple Watch to pay for items as they're hanging out with their pals. Not bad. And you know, there have been some other features in this first 24 hours that I've noticed that are really cool. The haptic feedback is always great because it's really strong on the Apple Watch. As you can see my iMac Pro back there, I use my Apple Watch to unlock that and to unlock my MacBook Pro. So when I'm editing and I walk away and I come back, everything unlocks automatically without having to put in a password or do any of that. So the features that you've already enjoyed and loved on the Apple Watch are still there. And you also get faster charging with the included charger in the Series 6. So it will charge to 80% of its capacity from 0 in about an hour. It will charge to 100% in roughly an hour and a half. Now, there was some question people had about the night tracking, because there are some new night features as well, and I need to get into those more and use those more as we go through this review phase. But people are asking, okay, if I'm gonna wear this thing all night, which I've always done because I was using auto sleep and auto wake apps to track my sleeping. But for those who maybe this is your first time using any sleep tracking, now that there's a level of sleep tracking built into the Apple Watch, what I did, and I went into this in my How I Do piece on the Apple Watch, what I do is in the morning when I get up, I put my Apple Watch on the charger, and I don't put it back on until before I leave the house. So I get up, it wakes me up in the morning with a silent alarm. It buzzes my wrist because tend to get up earlier than my wife. I don't want to wake her up. So it buzzes my wrist, I get up, I take the watch off, I put it on the charger right then and there. Then I go about my morning. I make my breakfast, I take my shower, I get dressed, I do all that. And then when I'm getting dressed, because at that point I am getting dressed, I'm putting on my wedding ring, earrings if I'm gonna wear them that day. So it's a natural fit for me to then go ahead and grab the watch, which is why I've never forgotten it, again, because I do it that way. I am at that point putting on all my little accessories like the ring and some of those things. I don't sleep with my wedding ring on. I don't sleep with anything on my wrists or arms, well, actually on the watch. And that's something I'm gonna talk about in the roundup that I do, is the comfort and the kind of the flat design and how I've really come to appreciate how low on my wrist the watch sits for sleeping with it at night. Those are my initial impressions. The watch, it does seem faster. Animations seem even silkier and buttery smooth than they did even on the Series 5. Again, not night and day. It's just something you notice as you look at the watch. And for example, when I went to work out and you have the little icon, the little guy, gal, whatever, who's running, if you have the complication turned on the watch, it just seemed a little more fluid to my eye. And again, take that for what you will, as there is no specific metric that allows me to see if how the S5 and S6 really differ in terms of actual empirical speed testing. But again, visually, it does look like things are a little smoother, a little faster. And things were quite smooth on the S5. So there you have it, first 24 with the Apple Watch Series 6. Any questions you have about the Series 6, leave them in the comments below as I go through this review period. This is the Series 6, by the way, with GPS and cellular. So any questions you have, you can leave them. I'll get to them. I'm Tashaka Armstrong. Tashaka Explains It All. Thank you for watching. I will see you on the next video.